Hey, what's up, everybody? Hope you are all having an extraordinarily excellent day. My name is Tyler Adolfo. I am 26 years old, and I have a diagnosis of bipolar type 1 with psychotic features. I mentioned my diagnosis right off the bat because in this video we will be covering an interesting topic. We will be taking a deep dive inside the mind of Manic Tyler Adolfo. In my recent videos, I have been discussing bipolar disorder a whole lot, and I've been doing that from the perspective of somebody who was in the aftermath of mania. But I've uncovered some emails that I had sent during the time period I was in mania, and I thought that reading these emails over a video would be interesting so that people could get some insight into the type of language that I was using and get some insight into how disorganized and distorted my thinking truly was at this particular moment in time. So in this video, I will be covering 5 emails that I sent to 4 different individuals. And I'm going to tell you who those 4 individuals are right now. One is a high school adjustment counselor that I had from when I was in high school. The other one that we will cover is the head of the communications department at UMass Amherst, Professor Jolly. The third that we will look at is an email I had sent to my congressman, Richard O'Neill, who also happened to be a teacher of a certain class that I was taking at UMass Amherst. And then fourth, we will cover an email that I sent to none other than Alex Jones' website, Infowars. He has an email called Whistleblowers. And I, in a manic state, perceived myself as a whistleblower, which is actually quite funny, to be honest. But these are all emails I sent while I was in a manic state. I'll actually be saying what the dates of the emails are, too. I'm not going to show the emails on video because I don't want the email addresses of these people I've corresponded with to be shown. So, yeah, why don't we get right into it? One other disclaimer is that there is one section of an email that shows a couple of names, and when I reach those couple of names, these are college student names. I don't want their names to be brought into this video, so I will be replacing their names with the word redacted. You'll just hear me say redacted in place of their names, because I don't want them to be associated with this in any way, although they are, but I just don't think it's appropriate or necessary in order to appreciate the larger store of information that I'm going to be sharing anyways. So let's get right into it. The first email, this is a short one. This is an excerpt from a chain of emails that I had sent, and this one is dated November 16th, 2021. So this would be after I had been released from Cooley Dickinson Hospital for my manic episode. I was still super manic at the time. If you've seen any of my other videos, you would know that I left that hospital in worse condition than when I had entered it. And that's because they didn't put me on any medications. They didn't have any type of intervention plan set up for me to meet up with a psychiatrist or anything of that nature. I was kind of just right at ground zero of having no treatment and being back out in the public while in an incredibly frenzied manic state. And this is the excerpt I had sent. I said this to Miss Guiney of my former high school. I am at risk of failing every class at UMass due to my attempt to do the right thing. I'm being recommended for the Presidential Medal of Freedom, but that's not until after all the hard work is done. So in this email, I actually make allusion to a hallucination that I had while I was in the hospital while manic. There was a certain general that I had been communicating with over the phone. And by the way, this general does not exist, literally does not even exist as a person. And I would have phone conversations with him outside the frat house. I would talk with him over the phone in the backyard with my earbuds in so nobody else could hear. I would, strangely cross the street and stand behind a bush very bizarrely in order to make sure nobody could hear what we were saying. And I would have full-blown conversations with this military general. And one of the conversations we had while we were in the hospital was that I would be recommended for the Presidential Medal of Freedom for my stance against sexual assault, which, of course, is just absolutely absurd. There's only a few hundred people in history who've gotten a Presidential Medal of Freedom, and getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom would mean that you would have to, have some type of correspondence to the president, because the president would be the one determining who gets that medal. And a whole lot of it was just nonsensical. But when you're in a manic state, that's what happens. So that's the email I sent to Miss Guiney, my guidance counselor from high school. And now here's a series of 2 emails that I had sent to the head of the communications department at UMass Amherst, Professor Sut Jolly. My favorite professor, by the way, incredibly intelligent man of integrity, and his lessons were always just so enlightening and just a pleasure to be a part of as a student. From the perspective of a student, that was just my experience being in his classes. I thought they were super informative, and I left them a more knowledgeable, empathetic person. And so here's the emails I sent to him. Email 1, sent December 28th, 2021. Hey, Sut. The same well-intentioned anti-human life in all forms SGA students, that's Student Government Association, who worked and conspired with corrupt elements in UMass Democrats and official state Democratic Party to smear progressive Alex Morse to help elevate Richard O'Neill, are the same ones who wrote the racist letter against our community. This is an act of domestic terrorism. Media keeps dividing us because it's the logic of the system. Presidents across the aisle have been selling weapons to the Saudi regime, which wants to ethnically cleanse the entire Middle East. Bibi, Kennedy, Abraham Lincoln, Whitey Bulger, Tupac, Napoleon Bonaparte, our entire history is contrived narrative. This is not conspiracy theory. It's merely a matter of reading the very primary source documents they want to erase. 1984 is not a fiction, it is here. I'd like your help. I'm planning a major 99.9% campus walkout. We know who wrote the racist letter. Rand Paul, the libertarian, who is actually super awesome on social ideas, but his monetary policies, LOL, sure buddy, haha, pointed out in the first 2015 debate that Trump is a shill working for the Clintons. If you follow the money, this is literally proven. Down with false reality, up with common ground people who can take a goddamn joke and want to do what we all want. That's a mouthful. So that's just the first of 2 emails that I sent to him. I'll read the second one in a moment, but I just want to comment on a couple of things from this first one. So during my junior year at UMass Amherst, fall semester, there was a racist letter that had been sent out to black student organizations, disseminating all kinds of toxic, hateful, degrading language, and it contained, white supremacist rhetoric and things of that nature. And I believed while I was manic that I was like a superhero. I took a stand against sexual assault and put in the New York Times because of it. And that's actually true, by the way. I've linked that article in one of my videos. I'll link it in this one too if anyone is interested in checking it out. But I guess that experience gave me a great deal of sense of grandiosity, and it made me feel like I could start solving other issues, and it made me feel obligated to figure out who wrote the racist letter. And I determined that the people who wrote the racist letter were members of the Student Government Association and UMass Democrats, of all people. How I made that determination, there was no logical basis whatsoever. It's just what Manic Tyler Adolfo came to the conclusion of. So the second email I sent to Professor Sajali, and this one is much shorter. Every member of Greek life and only a select handful of Student Government Association people are all protecting the evidence. We are handling this in a way that will result in zero trauma, but also applies law where necessary because people have had serious harm done to them from these acts of terrorism. Whether they did so unknowingly or not, treason is treason, and felonies are felonies. 99.9% at UMass can be the model for the rest of the country if done right. I don't want to share evidence over here, but I can have someone get it to you at a future period to show you and get your opinion. We are following advice of trauma, science, and sexual assault experts and mental health experts, not what mob mentality backlash tells us. So this is again saying that, I have evidence of who wrote the racist letter. I, of course, did not have evidence of who wrote the racist letter, but I believed that I knew who wrote the racist letter, and I believed that I had evidence of it. And this was because at this moment in time of my mania, I was seeing patterns and connections in just about everything. So I was seeing Greek life organizations at UMass somehow connected to geopolitical issues at large happening in the world, which of course did not make sense, but in a manic state, it made total sense. Moving on. This one, January 30th, 2022, an email that I had sent to Congressman Richard O'Neill, who was the head of a journalism class that I would have taken had I not been suspended and subsequently expelled from UMass. And in this email, I write, "Hey, Mr. Neal, there is an urgent matter involving my frat at UMass, which some UMass deans were complicit in covering up. I've been in contact with the offices of Joe Kennedy, my own cousin, who wasn't interested in getting involved, according to his staffer, because of the upcoming governor's race. Just wanted to let you know, at 10:52 p.m. tonight, I will be releasing some information to the public with the assistance of ethical true journalists at the New York Times, Boston Globe, as well as major radio networks, including 91.1, which air all over the Pioneer Valley." So, in this email that I sent to Congressman Richard O'Neill, my, how embarrassing, I tell him about how, there's information regarding my frat that I need to discuss with him and that I don't feel comfortable sharing over email, that I had been in contact with Joe Kennedy about this. Of course, at this point in time, I had the delusion that I was related to the Kennedys, and I mentioned that in this email, saying that Joe Kennedy was my own cousin, but that, he was being a bad cousin because he didn't want to get involved because of the upcoming governor's race, which, of course, is not true. There's very little truthful basis to the things that I said and did during Mania, because they were all based off of delusions. They were based off figments of my own imagination. And that's just the sad reality of the situation. Looking back on these, I almost want to get upset a little bit because it's just so embarrassing. I don't even know why I'm sharing them, but well, the reason I'm sharing them is because I want to give insight into what a manic mind kind of looks like, what my manic mind looked like. I feel like it would be valuable information for people to see. Now, this last one, for those who don't know, Alex Jones is a prominent right-wing leaning conspiracy theorist who has for decades been distributing content largely about a conspiracy about the New World Order and how, people are trying to form a one world government and erase the sovereignty of nations. That's like his big shtick. And when I was younger, a teenager, I actually followed a lot of what Alex Jones did. I don't believe any of that stuff now. I grew out of it, thankfully. But I used to be a pretty ardent follower of his. And while I was in Mania, for some reason, I felt like I could trust sharing with him the information that I had been trying to share with others. And so this is what that looked like. In an email dated February 7th, 2022, to the email, whistleblowers@infowars.com. The email was titled, "I'm Tyler Fitzgerald Kennedy, JFK Jr., in which I write, "It's been very traumatic coming to learn that my true grandpa and grandma are not who I thought. John F. Kennedy has at least 2 known confirmed heirs, living and doing well. One is myself, the other is Redacted. He's the nephew of the owner of Redacted. I have strong reason to suspect it's actually many more. There's much I must speak to you on, Alex. Please contact me soon, Alex. Hope you and your team are doing well. Tell your family I said hello. You are welcome to inform your viewers I reached out, and I'd love to chat with you sooner rather than later so we can chat. There's a urgent time-sensitive matter here in Massachusetts you could be of great aid with helping resolve. None of my so-called frat brothers are helping me. The racist UMass police arrested me for defending myself. My frat at UMass still won't return my property. They literally drugged a woman, and then UMass Amherst expelled me and banned me from campus for beating up the Nazi who tried to kill me. None of the state authorities are helping me, man. I'm honestly about to just take a bus to Detroit or Brooklyn because I have no allies out here willing to help. Please call soon, but don't feel compelled to, man. I'm awake at all hours." That was true. "I'm awake at all hours and will await your call. God bless you, my friend." So I'll start off by saying it is definitely true that I was awake at all hours at the time that I was sending these emails, because I was in a super frenzied manic state, and diminished need for sleep was one of the realities of the circumstances I was facing. Now, in this email to Alex Jones, you see some of the common themes about how I think that I'm John F. Kennedy, how I think I'm one of the heirs of John F. Kennedy, and how he needs to inform his viewers of this urgent situation because, me being related to Kennedy is somehow connected to the geopolitics of the world, and I have important information to get out. And this is somehow connected to my frat taking my property, and this is somehow connected to me getting into a fight with a person that I thought was a Nazi trying to kill me. Like, none of these things have any correlation to each other whatsoever, but in my manic mind, they all pieced together perfectly. I pieced together the puzzle, and it all made sense. But of course, in reality, none of it did. So that's it for today's video, everybody. In this video, I shared 5 emails that I sent to 4 people while I was in a manic state. I hope that this gives some insights into the type of irrational thinking that I was displaying while I was in a state of mania. And yeah, that's really the sole reason that I kind of wanted to make this video, because I've been putting out a lot of content talking about mania from the perspective of somebody who's no longer in mania. This video, we took a step back and we zoomed in on what it looks like from the perspective of somebody in mania through the medium of emails that were sent during that time. I thought this was an interesting idea. If you like this video, please hit the like button down below. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button as well. I would greatly appreciate it. We recently hit 500 subscribers on the channel. I'm so ecstatic about that, and I'm extremely grateful for all the support and love we've been getting on the channel, all the comments. I read all of them and get to them as fast as I can. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Peace out, y'all.